Yes, everybody. Good morning, West Ham fans. Happy Sunday. Have you got your you're peeling your spuds for your roast dinner? We've been talking about carveries. That first half was so shit for the Man United game yesterday. We're not talking about what you have on your carvery. Obviously, West Ham played their first game in the summer series last night, losing 2-1. 100% pre-season record has gone, having beaten obviously Zurich Grasshoppers last Saturday. And it's fair to say that first half was absolutely diabolical. It was so boring. There was no pace. And when did it all start getting a bit more interesting? When they brought the kids on. And people in the chat were like, who the fuck is this Preston Fum? And that's one that you need to watch the West Ham Network Academy shows. Mondays, 6 o'clock UK time. We're starting again next week. West Ham's future, and this is what I've been saying for a while. We have a conveyor belt of academy talent which we haven't had access to for several years. Our future does look bright when it comes to the academy. I think it was last year there was a stat which went out in the Premier League where West Ham hadn't had a single minute of academy players in the Premier League. And I think it was Julian Lopetegui, and then obviously Potter came in and did the right thing and brought Ollie Scars in straight away and changed that. But with our little cameo, I think by the end we had Ollie, I think it's sort of playing a centre, like left centre half, really, of the back three. We had Freddie Potts in there, and we had Preston Fum making his debut appearance in the first team, really. Preston is someone we've been talking about in the West Ham Network for the last year, along with Erdrich Golombekis, who was on the bench as well. If you looked at the bench, many of the, in terms of the youngsters on that bench yesterday, let me find that bench. On the bench, you had Caelan Casey, Erdrich Golombekis, Ollie Scars, Mamadou Kante. I'm just looking at the academy players. Preston Fum, although Kante wasn't really academy, but kind of is. Potts, Lewis Orford, and Callum Marshall. And what I thought was really, really interesting was the decision to bring on Preston rather than someone like Lewis, for example. And I think we know about Lewis Orford. And for those of you who are West Ham Network viewers, avid Academy show viewers, you would know all about Preston Fum. 18-year-old, and he's literally, this year was sort of his not him and Erdrich sort of progressed from the 16s into the 18s last year. Ended up playing a lot of 21s as well because we set out a load of players on loan. That's what I think is what's going to happen. As I said, this conveyor belt of talent is there. So you've got this in terms of academy talent. You've got sort of the pathway players now, I'm going to call them. You've got Ollie Scars. You've got Lewis. I think Lewis and Caelan will both go out on loan. Freddie Potts very much looked at home again in the side when he came on. And then that's sort of the first wave. Then you've got the second wave behind that. Someone like Finn Herrick. Finn Herrick's been given a long-term deal with the club as well. I think Finn might go on loan, although Mason might go on loan. I don't know. Mason went on loan last year and the year before. But the goalkeeper situation is a slightly different situation always because it never seems to... Young goalkeepers never seem to get their minutes in, if that makes sense. Then you've got the next sort of group coming through. So you've got Erdrich Golombekis, Ezra Mayers, both two very good centre halves. Erdrich obviously was on the bench yesterday. You've got Ezra Mayers, Amika Adiele. You've got Josh Briggs, Junior Robinson. You've got some good centre. You've got some good players there. But I think you're more likely to see the likes of Someone like Preston, you might even see getting some minutes in cup games in midfield. Mamadou Kante as well. We know about the likes of, Callum Marshall's obviously in that group. Sorry, Callum Marshall is in the pathway group as well. You've got the likes of, Josh Ajala coming through, Josh Landers, Daniel Cummings. We have got a really nice group of youngsters coming through. Now, how they progress into the first team, that's the next question. But the thing is, where before, personally, I don't think we've had such a crop of players in the last 20 years. You might get one here, one there, but we've got half a dozen players who could easily make that match day squad for West Ham. And then you've got another half a dozen players behind that who are ready for the next one. Do you know what I mean? That excites me. Not from just a footballing perspective, and being a West Ham fan, academy players always seem to get, we love those academy players a little bit more, but it helps us out financially as well. If again, look at Declan Rice. That's £100 million worth of profit. When we sold Grady Dean Garner to West Brom, that was £19 million of pure profit. I'm not saying we're flogging them, but that's how you make yourself self-sufficient. That's how you can produce. You do it two ways. You buy them cheap and then sell them high. Someone like going again to the Brighton model, they bought Matoma for like 3-4 million quid from Japan. The Saudis wanted him. They wanted 90. We're going to put 90 million on the table for him last summer. That's, you either do it that way or you do it for the academy. You got academy there, which is headed up by all West Ham ex-players. So in terms of understanding that West Hamness, in terms of that link between Upton Park, that link between John Lyle with Kevin Keane, and like we said with Tim the other day, the future is looking bright. I know it doesn't seem it at times. I know but it does look bright in terms of having these players available. Now, whether we might buy in players and stuff like that, but there's going to be a core group of say 3 or 4, I reckon, maybe even up to 6, which will be available for Potter this next year and the year after that and the year after that in terms of bringing through. And you see, he's happy. As I said, could have played Lewis, could have put Lewis on for the last 10 minutes or so, but he put Preston on, and that's brilliant. I was so made up for him because he is such a good player, and he has got it. He's got it in his locker. I think you need to, on a live chat. People, he's got to start next week. No, he will be starting games eventually, but not this week. You know what I mean? He needs to take time. But what you need to do is watch the academy shows, and all about these players already. So when Preston came on, there was a lot of people in the chat, a lot of learned people in the chat already knew about him and what he could bring because they watched the West Ham Network Academy show. That's why we do what we do. So when these players come on, we know exactly, who they are, and you can start referencing them. Anyway, I thought it was a strange game yesterday, game of two halves. Decent run out second half. First half was absolutely appalling. If anything, it shows you we need a goalkeeper, Areola, and he was absolutely. I mean, even in the Zurich Grasshoppers game, he was awful in terms of very erratic. And that's probably enough for me. I'm going to go and peel the spuds. Anyway, take care, stay safe, stay well, stay well, keep the faith, and I'll see you later. Don't forget to give it a like. Much love. Bye-bye.